Craig, why don't you make the case first? $85 a share. You see this thing going down, down, down. Why?
Valued at an outsized premium versus the largest car producer in the market, when they really don't have anything nobody else doesn't. To me, that doesn't make any sense.
And in today's episode of Things That Absolutely Do Not Make Sense, Craig Irwin's statement about Tesla and Tesla's current stock price after a record collapse approaching the biggest ever drawdown in the history of Tesla stock. Now, full disclosure, because I'm an idiot and therefore I obviously don't know how to do technical analysis, I'm unaware that Tesla stock is currently heading toward $140 per share, and idiotically I'm actually currently shopping, like as in mop and bucket shit, like literally cleaning the fuck up, buying with every spare cent hand over fist, squeezing every last drop I possibly can to accumulate Tesla stock near these record drawdown levels. Now, being a dumb long-term investor who intends on holding Tesla stock well into next decade, and then some, I'm so emotionally traumatized that Tesla stock's on sale at this point in time that I really need your support, ladies and gentlemen. Please tell me it's going to be okay, because I'm super worried right now. So worried, in fact, that I can't wipe the smile off my face. Anyway, I personally believe we are approaching peak disconnect, the difference between reality and the perception at this point in time. Of course, who knows what's going to happen from here, but between you and I definitely hope Tesla stock goes even lower, but there's got to be a point where even those who thought Tesla stock was absurdly overvalued in the $400 range and the $300 range start to say, hang on a minute, it's not that, what? Really? Don't say I didn't warn you. And speaking of warnings, just a few days left. This is one of the final warnings. If you're thinking about joining Patreon, do it now, lest you regret that for the rest of your days. Unless, of course, you're currently buying the Tesla stock dip. A, I totally get it, but B, you're probably still going to regret not joining Patreon. You know what to do. Click the card in the corner or the link at the pinned comment. And by the way, again, massive shout out and a huge thank you to everybody supporting the channel over there. I mean, honestly, I don't blame you. Dropping so many fucking exclusive videos over there, it's a joke. Another 2 exclusive Patreon videos today. I've lost count how many. It's well over 200 now and counting rapidly. Patreon page is now fast approaching the top 100 globally. Absolutely insane. So, unless you've got a regret fetish, now is the time to join Patreon. While we're on the topic of regrets, let me ask a question. Is there anything you can imagine you might regret in 10 years' time? Let me know in the comments below. Now, in entirely unrelated matters that have absolutely nothing to do with regret, I swear, I don't know why, but this tweet has just appeared. Let's read it anyway, because, I mean, it's here. May as well. From Gary Black, some guy that doesn't know anything about anything. At $178, Tesla stock is now trading at the lowest 1-year forward PE since at least 2019. Why does 2019 feel familiar? I feel like something to do with I think there's, let me just check something, guys. I knew there was something I was forgetting. 2019. My Tesla stock purchase prices and number of shares accumulated, all split adjusted. 5th of March 2019, I was buying for $18.63 per share. Yeah, I'm not fucking kidding, all right? In March, later that same month, I was buying for $17.97. And I continued buying throughout April in the $17 range, then the $16 range, then the $13 range, then $12.36 per share for Tesla stock just a few years ago. At the time, this was my emergency fund. I was retired, I was overseas, I wasn't actively earning income, although in fairness, I did have recurring, almost passive income, more than enough to cover my expenses. But I went overseas after piling up a bit of cash, actually pulling cash out of my real estate, because that's what people who don't have an irrational fear of debt do. So I pulled out a bunch of cash, left it aside and thought, okay, this will tide me over. If there's any emergencies or whatever, I got some cash. Next minute, this happens to Tesla stock and I'm like, well, this is the fucking emergency I had the money for. Here it is. Didn't make sense. And this obviously has aged relatively well. Even after Tesla's record drawdown, down almost 60% from its all-time high. And to put this in context visually, these are the largest ever drawdowns on Tesla stock. We've got the peak price and the trough date and the percentage decline and the number of days that took place over. As we can see here, Tesla's decline is approximately the second largest ever on record, 53.3%. The record being 60.6%. What a deal. Next after that, 49.8%. And a bunch in the mid 30%. Again, I don't know why I showed you that either. It's totally irrelevant. The returns on these particular purchases in this period in 2019 range anywhere from about 880% up to over 1300%. So yeah, I don't know why I showed you this because it's got nothing to do with what Gary was saying, but I just, for some reason, felt a little tingle and I just had to show that. Don't read into it too much, I swear. I'm not trying to make a point. So let's continue. Tesla is now trading at the lowest 1-year forward PE since at least 2019. A $10 billion buyback would be hugely accretive here and change the awful sentiment since the Twitter deal. Now, I understand where Gary's coming from. The guy's got a fund, largest position is Tesla, doesn't like being down, I get it. And also, in fairness, a stock buyback may send a strong signal and help shift sentiment on Tesla stock, but I don't really want Tesla to do that just for the sake of changing sentiment. I want them to do that because the stock's on sale. I want to make sure people understand. The cheaper Tesla stock is, the happier I am because I'm still buying. Maybe in 2042, if I've stopped accumulating Tesla stock at that point, might change my tune. But for now, the lower the better. Just want to have a quick zoom in on this shot from the Bloomberg terminal. Yellow here is Tesla's current forward PE ratio. Now this is based on Wall Street consensus earnings per share estimates, which are well under what Tesla will actually do, meaning it's even more of a deal. But even so, just based on consensus EPS estimates, Tesla is now cheaper than it was in 2019. Again, based on forward earnings estimates. So again, I don't know why I randomly showed my Tesla stock purchases back in 2019 and then explained the returns that have happened since then, because it's totally unrelated. But I think Gary does have a useful bit of information here, hence the gigantic disconnect between perception and reality, in my opinion. This is what fear, uncertainty, and doubt looks like, manifest in a chart. There's no law, no rule in the stock market that says a stock price needs to accurately reflect a company's execution and future prospects. Case in fucking point, in my opinion. And speaking of opinions, everyone is entitled to share theirs, so over to Craig Humiliation Fetish Irwin.
Craig, why don't you make the case first? $85 a share. You see this thing going down, down, down. Why?
So Tesla's facing a really interesting competitive environment. If you look at the credible equities out there, companies that are executing well, you've got names like Lucid and Polestar doing what they said they would do.
Excuse me? What? Now, in fairness, Polestar executing relatively well. Lucid, on the other hand, are you fucking kidding? Doing what they said they were going to do? Are you fucking kidding, Craig? Lucid have twice slashed their 2022 production forecasts. They said they were going to do over 20,000 vehicles. Then they went, we changed our mind. We were wrong. We're not going to do what we said we're going to do. Our newly revised target is around 12 or 14,000. Fast forward a few months. So we're not going to do what we said we're going to do after we said we're going to do something and then change our mind about that. We're also changing our mind about this and not doing what we said we're going to do because now our target is a mere 6 to 7,000 units for 2022. Does this sound like a company that's doing what they said they're going to do? A company that has twice slashed their 2022 production and delivery forecast? Twice? From 20,000 down now to around 6,000 to 7,000. Best case, about 1/3 of their originally stated goal. Is that really a company executing well and doing what they said they were going to do? It's not. Now, credit where it's due. Polestar are doing great. But Craig, if you want people to take you seriously, you have to say things that are credible. Claiming that Lucid are executing well and doing what they said they're going to do, when they've significantly, dramatically slashed their product. Come on, dude. Try harder.
You've got names like Porsche, where it's the Taycan that's really driving the growth for that company.
To put this in context, in 2021, for the full year, Porsche Taycan sold just under 42,000 units. Decent, but when you contrast that with Tesla, doesn't even register as a blip.
Coming out at a much more attractive valuation. And then you've got, Ford with their spinoff coming this spring. They're really much more attractive places to put your money.
Okay, so let's play along at home here. Let me know in the comments, what do you guys and girls think? In 10 years' time, which of the three following stocks will have grown the most in percentage terms? Tesla, Porsche, Ford? What's your guess below? Because according to Craig Irwin, it definitely ain't going to be Tesla, hence there's better places to put your money than Tesla stock, with the stock down close to 60% since recent all-time highs, despite new flawless execution. I do not know what this guy's smoking, but Craig, bro, get in touch, man. I need some of this shit. It's got to be good.
And, for Tesla to be valued at an outsized premium versus the largest car producer in the market, when they really don't have anything nobody else doesn't, to me, that doesn't make any sense.
I'm going to engage in some rampant, wild speculation. I don't believe that Craig believes what he just said. Watch his face while these words come out. Watch the change in his expression. It's almost as if he's laughing at the absurdity of what he's saying and trying to hide this laughter while speaking words that contradict his internal feeling. Watch again. Pay close attention. Watch the transformation on his face happen in real time as he starts spouting absolute horse shit.
For Tesla to be valued at an outsized premium versus the largest car producer in the market.
Ready? Right now. Watch.
When they really don't have anything nobody else doesn't, to me, that doesn't make any sense.
Well, to me, what Craig said doesn't make any sense. In fact, to anyone whose brain functions, that doesn't make sense. Tesla doesn't have anything that anyone else doesn't have. Well, are you serious, bro? Really? He's not serious. He knows he's not serious. Look at his fucking face. He can't even contain his laughter. Either he's getting turned on due to his humiliation fetish, knowing what he's saying is ridiculous and he just likes it, he's enjoying it. That's joy on his face. Or he knows he's full of shit and no one will take this seriously and he's laughing at the absurdity of what he's saying. What do you guys think? Does Craig actually believe what he just said or not?
It means you should probably look elsewhere and avoid Tesla.
Ladies and gentlemen, you heard it here first. Craig Irwin, super credible, especially when it comes to Tesla stock, recommends investors look elsewhere and should probably avoid Tesla stock. Do me a favor, set a reminder. I'll revive this clip in a few years' time and we'll see what's happened. I don't believe Craig's call will have aged particularly well.
All right, so Colin, why don't you respond there? The point, he makes an excellent point. There's a lot of competition here. Some are executing very well. You've got a CEO who may, to very mildly put it, be a little bit distracted. What do you say?
So before Colin responds, a couple of things. One, the dude has a giant brain. Two, his track record is near flawless. And I mean near flawless. He's literally one of the top-ranked analysts on planet Earth. He understands Tesla intimately. He also knows everything Craig has just said is an absolute load of horseshit to the point of extreme embarrassment. He's not just off by a little bit. His statements are truly absurd. Colin is also extremely polite. I think he's the anti-SMR. So let's see how delicately he handles his response to the absurdities we've just heard from Craig Bellend Irwin.
Separate from the Elon distraction issue, I think Craig's mistaken on the fundamental technology position of Tesla.
Well, delicately said, but he's right. I think the translation there from Colin is Craig does not know what the f*** he's talking about. He's dead f***ing wrong. Tesla has a load of technology no one else has, and Craig's a moron for saying otherwise. I think that's what Colin was saying.
When you look at what a vehicle looks like over the course of the next 10 years, we're really looking at materials and advanced materials being operated by software. And Tesla's advantage around its understanding of basic materials inside the battery, as well as with power electronics, is substantially ahead of other folks. We're seeing that again and again with the partnerships that are developing for established OEMs as well as some of these newer OEMs to try and drive that technology curve. And Tesla is doing that on an integrated basis. We're seeing them drive costs out of the vehicle as well as the process. And we've been talking about Tesla having a 2 to 3 year advantage from a technology perspective, but we think that's really closer to 3 to 5 years.
He's right. I mean, he's really right. Let's look at different aspects of Tesla's business. Software capabilities, easily 3 to 5 years ahead, if not more. Thermally managing batteries, the batteries themselves, manufacturing techniques, gigantic casting, the octovalve heat pump, profit margins, reduced complexity, the amount of time it literally takes to actually manufacture a vehicle, production capacity, the technological lead in terms of full self-driving, the data flywheel. The experts have been saying that the competition has been coming not all over themselves, but for Tesla for the last decade or so. If it were true, and surely some of these companies at some point over the last decade realized, oh shit, yeah, we probably do need to catch up to Tesla, otherwise we're out of business. Surely at least some of these companies have been trying to catch up to Tesla. And how's that worked out so far? That's kind of the point. We are seeing evidence. Many of these companies a few years ago realized they're in deep shit unless they move as fast as possible toward EVs. And how many extremely profitable, mass production, technologically advanced electric vehicles are these companies making? And the key part here is how many of these companies are making these vehicles at scale extremely profitably? The answer is actually none. There are some electric vehicles on the market competing with some of Tesla's products, but if you look behind the scenes, under the hood, so to speak, in financial terms, no one's making any money selling electric vehicles outside of China apart from Tesla. And yes, it will take multiple years before any of these companies are, hence the multi-year advantage. It's been around 2 years since Tesla first announced the bombshell of their gigantic casting. It's since expanded to envelop even more of the vehicle. And how many other automotive manufacturers today have implemented their own gigantic cast pieces? None. At least none that I'm aware of. This actually matters a lot. Tesla's not only moving faster than any other company in this space, but they already have a multi-year, perhaps half-decade lead. And that lead is actually accelerating. Colin is right. And Craig is a moron, or just has a humiliation fetish and knows he's wrong, but he likes being wrong because it turns him on. I'm not sure which is which, to be honest. P.S. Craig, I'm not judging. Whatever turns you on.
At the end of the day, when folks really start to implement some of these newer ideas, and even though Tesla's falling short on some of the timeframes on some of their advanced programs, they're still substantially ahead of all their competition. And so as you look at the cost structure for those vehicles and the performance as they come out, it's really just, apples and oranges from our perspective. And the earnings power, when we look at Tesla, getting up to 25% plus operating margins, driving towards 4 to 5 million vehicles is really, puts us into a potential for, $12 to $15, $18 of earnings at this point, and really puts you into a pretty reasonable multiple perspective as you look at a differentiated technology company.
But hey, what does this guy know? It's not like he's a top-ranked analyst, therefore we should totally disregard his Tesla stock price target, which as I record this is $436 per share. Well and truly above a doubling from where we are today. Now, just between you and I, low-key, I don't think Colin even knows how to technically analyze stocks. He doesn't even know how to read a chart, and therefore disregard his price target. He doesn't know what he's talking about. Tesla stock to $140 per share. You heard it here first, because technical analysis makes sense. And if you're wondering, is there a litmus test? how can we know if technical analysis really does make sense? If it really has credible, legitimate predictive power? It's quite simple. Everyone performing technical analysis would be quintillionaires, obviously, because if it works, you know what's going to happen. You make your bets, you make a lot of money, you repeat, and you win. Easy as that. And because the world has so many quintillionaires, it's obviously true that technical analysis actually does make sense. It's not astrology for stocks. And every time somebody reads a chart and says the stock's going this way or the other way, and then it does, it proves that they were right and their reasoning was sound, because technical analysis makes sense.
Here he goes again. SEC filing showing Musk sold 19.5 million Tesla shares between Friday and yesterday. That brings his total sales this year to 19 billion. That, as he mentioned, despite his claim in April that no further sales planned after today.
Now, I just want to take a quick moment to address the very few dolts and or emotional infants who watch this channel and also don't know how to use the dictionary, because it's important, because I've seen a lot of reactions. Elon Musk, so f*** you, you said you were no more. That's been happening. Let's read what plan mean, because Elon did say no further sales were planned. Plan. Decide on and make arrangements for in advance. So hopefully we do understand the difference between planned and unplanned sales of Tesla stock and just plans in general. For example, when you and your girlfriend first entered into an exclusive relationship, she definitely didn't plan on cheating on you with Chad Thundercock. But when Chad Thundercock met her at work and gave her the attention you did not, met some of the needs that you were not, I mean, it's not like she'd pre-planned to be playing a skin flute. But it did happen. It just wasn't planned. Also, my condolences. Got up your game, brother.
Then again in August when he confirmed, quote, he was done selling. Now, it's unclear why he sold. It was more than a week after he closed on that $44 billion Twitter deal and he took over the company. So he either used these funds to help pay for that deal after closing, or he needs to fund the losses and restructuring at Twitter going forward. As he said, Twitter is losing $4 million a day right now. The Twitter deal is looking more and more expensive, not just to Musk, but also to Tesla shareholders. Tesla losing about $500 billion in market cap since he first invested in Twitter. Dan Ives of Wedbush saying, quote, the Twitter circus show has been an absolute debacle from all angles since Musk bought the platform for all the world to see. Twitter, he said, has become an albatross for Tesla investors. Now, Musk hasn't done so well himself. He's lost $90 billion in wealth so far this year, Melissa. That's even more than Mark Zuckerberg, which is saying something.
I feel like the two smallest violins in the world are playing for them. I mean, there's still plenty rich. We should note that Tesla stock right now, we're at a new 52-week low. We're at lows actually we haven't seen in about 20 months. It's funny, Robert, that you mentioned the Dan Ives note, because I was reading it this morning and he actually said that that Musk has a credibility issue.
What? Credibility issue? Yeah, like when I try to make reusable rockets. Bam, does it. Electric vehicle company. Bam, does it. Best vehicle in the world. Bam, does it. Now, in fairness, I haven't actually seen the original research note, so maybe this quote is a little out of context. But if it's true that Dan Ives has said Elon Musk has a credibility issue, the question is, in the eyes of who? Now, I understand. There are people currently suffering from severe mental illness who don't see Elon Musk as credible. They don't see him as trustworthy. They think he's a fraud and a liar and a con man. Surely Dan Ives' research note wasn't. There's people with severe mental illness who don't find Elon Musk credible. So the question is, what reasonable grounds does anyone have to say Elon isn't credible? Genuine question. And surely we're not going to be a point extra and talk about missed timelines, because that's not a lack of credibility. That's a clear sign of an optimism bias. Very different things.
So even going forward in terms of his ability, it's not just this overhang, but his ability to maybe even raise more money. It's the whole notion that his word really does not mean much anymore is a real problem in all aspects of his life and his business life.
Is this a joke? I'm so confused. Is that in the research note, or is Melissa Lee just saying that that's her perception, or that's the CNBS producers? I'm so confused right now. Normally, I understand they're just dumb, but I'm so confused right now. Beyond confused. I'm baffled.
It is a problem, Melissa, and you're right. Dan Ives saying it's the boy who cried wolf just too many times. What Elon Musk needs to do, fine, he's selling stock. What doesn't matter exactly whether it's to pay for the deal or fund the deal going forward. He just needs to communicate to Tesla investors going forward what they can expect.
I finally figured it out. I finally understand where they're coming from. What they're saying is Elon Musk needs to invent a time machine, know all possible future scenarios and outcomes, and then tell everybody ahead of time what outcomes will occur so he knows what actions he'll take based on the things that have not yet actually taken place in reality. Makes sense. please tell us every future action you intend on taking ever. Because after all, once you invent the time machine, you'll know what's going to happen, and then you'll know what you'll do. Totally reasonable. They're right, Elon's not credible. Go build that time machine, motherfucker, and tell us what you're going to do in the future before you know what you're going to do, based on events that have not yet taken place. Elon. I think we're starting to get a bit of an insight into the mindset of the general public, which is, I have a position, or I've decided something, and therefore that's that. No matter what new information is presented, no matter how circumstances may change, I have decided that I will not be open to any future deviations to my previously planned actions. And I guess the same would be true of beliefs. If I believe something, the end. No amount of new information, evidence, counterpoints, nothing at all will ever cause me to change my mind, because once you decide something, that's that. So bizarre. It really is. Now, another point I'd like to raise is, you do realize that when somebody like Elon sells Tesla stock, he's legally obliged to disclose this. That's why we know he sold. Are stock investors so entitled? Are their heads so far up their ass that they expect somebody like Elon to pre-announce ahead of time his intent to sell stock? You know the repercussions of that, right? A bunch of big hedge funds will try and get ahead of the trade to make a shit ton of money, dumping the stock before Elon sells and absolutely cleaning up, making billions of dollars of profits because Elon told them ahead of time, giving them a huge advantage over retail stock investors who don't have enough capital to actually deploy to really take advantage of this opportunity. It's almost as if everyone on planet Earth holds Elon Musk to a higher standard than any other person on planet Earth. Is this reasonable?
He could just say, look, I may sell more shares this year, or I may sell more next year, or I'm done. But just tell us what you're going to do and stick to it. Of course, that's not what he's done in the past about anything, but that's what investors want.
That's right, Elon. Build a time machine, motherfucker. Go into the future, know all future events, all future actions based on those future events, and then tell us ahead of time what those will be. Seems reasonable, right? And speaking of the future and planning, I'm planning on buying more Tesla stock with every spare cent. And then some. Keywords there being, and then some. I'm not going to explain that one. Does that mean I will buy more Tesla stock? No, it doesn't. Anything could happen. Maybe I'll go all in on Nikola stock. You never know. The future is uncertain and unknown. One thing though is for sure, I'm definitely planning on revisiting this video in a few years' time to see what's happened. I've got a funny feeling it'll age rather well. Let me know in the comments below. Who else has been buying Tesla stock? Has anyone been margin called? Anyone buying options? Let me know what you guys and girls are doing in the comments below. And while we're on the topic of plans, I know you've been planning to join Patreon for a long time. Well, today's the day to finally execute on that plan, lest you regret it for the rest of your living days. So head over and join the rapidly growing community on Patreon by clicking the card in the corner or the link in the pinned comment, and I'll see you over there. Love ya.